My name is Camille Larson. I'm with Tenants Revolt. I'm addressing you today because I'm disappointed and scared for my future, and I want to talk more about housing, the housing crisis. I don't think we'll be done with this conversation until something is very, very different from the way that it is now. I came to Bellingham to be a student. When I left the dorms, I found that I was unable to survive the housing options that were available to me. So I moved into a house that was rendered uninhabitable by mold, severe plumbing issues causing multiple floods, and more. My roommates and I became so ill that we couldn't function enough to work or succeed in school. It was terrible. I want to draw your attention to the many members of our community who are living in similar housing conditions, especially with the moisture around here. Everyone in a house that hasn't been properly maintained, so many of us are suffering with mold poisoning. Being sick as a result of black mold is terrifying. Knowing that you can't escape it until the end of your lease is over is worse. I got out of my lease because the gift of free time. When I was lying in bed for weeks, I wrote a letter that scared my landlord enough to convince him to make a deal with me. I got out of my lease. Most people do not have the time or resources to advocate for themselves the way that I was able to. Most students cannot drop their classes and be unemployed for 3 months with support from their families. I was lucky. The most shocking part of this process was how many blatantly illegal actions were taken by my property management company. I submitted many maintenance requests. I knew what was legal in Washington state under the Landlord-Tenant Act. I knew that my landlord had stolen money from me. I had everything thoroughly documented, but I couldn't do anything about it. I kept finding that there were no appropriate channels through which to make a complaint, which would be followed through on. Please take a moment to imagine what this would be like for a person who did not have the time or ability to dig for help the way that I did. Think of your community members who are most vulnerable. Do you notice how they are the people who work the hardest and have the least support? What are they expected to do when they sign a year-long lease on a property that costs more than half their income and endangers their physical health? Often they keep living there. They have no other choice. Tonight, I have heard your discussions of fentanyl and other controlled substances. The way this conversation is being conducted is confusing and frightening to me. As other members of the public have drawn your attention to tonight, the housing crisis and the opioid crisis are deeply connected. How is it reasonable to criminalize public use of opioids when the factors that drive people to use opioids are deeply rooted in not being afforded the basic provisions that human beings need to survive? I'm so nervous. Council, I hope that you will put forth the effort to push through new legislative measures to protect tenants from landlords like mine. I hope that you will listen to the tenants who speak to you when we tell you that we are in crisis and we cannot survive our lives without rent control. I am 21 years old. Those of you with children, I hope that you keep them in mind every single time these issues cross your desk. We cannot make a future for ourselves.
Thank you, Camille.
If this issue is not solved. Thank you. I'm done.